These two episodes have introduced two very, very popular characters. I think one of them is getting a Disney Plus series. I mean, come on. Are you going to deny the world the power of Madison?
Madison is with two N's, one Y, but it's not where you think.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Will, and we are back again talking about some more She-Hulk. This is going to be my spoiler review for She-Hulk episodes 4 and 5. If you haven't watched the episodes yet, please pause this video, go check out the episodes, and come back and hear my thoughts on it and a couple of things that I noticed with the episodes and where I kind of think the rest of the season's going. We've got about 4 more episodes to go before the end of this season. I can't imagine this not getting a second season. I mean, this is too much fun. I haven't laughed this hard at a Disney series in a minute. I mean, this is like just good. It's just fun. And I think that's the one thing I really love about it. It's a fun show. It's super fun and a lot more connected than I really thought. But before I jump into my overall thoughts and explainers of the episodes, I won't get too in depth with it, but we'll see what happens. You know, it's one of my videos. I ramble. But before I do that, if you are new here, thanks for checking me out. My name is Will, and I do geeky shit on the internet. A whole bunch of different things, reviews, reactions, discussions, some gaming, some drinking, some lists. I dip my toes in a lot of stuff. That sounded better in my head. Anyway. If you are into that sort of thing and you like it from a geeky bear's perspective, why not subscribe to the channel? Trying to hit 500 subscribers this year. Don't know if it's going to happen, but really it's just more so about getting to know you, and hopefully you enjoy what you're seeing and having fun, and just let's have some fun. Let's talk about She-Hulk. Let's do that. Alright, so episode 4's focus is on Wong. We get the return of Benedict Wong as Wong, who needs Jen's help because a former student from Kamar-Taj named Donnie Blaze, he is a former student and a wannabe Chris Angel who decides to use some of his teachings of the mystic arts to make his cheapo magic look real, and is real. And we also get the introduction of the greatest character to come out of this series. I am talking about Madison.
Did you get a ticket for texting? Just say you were texting 911, they can't prosecute.
She is hilarious. I loved her in this episode. She's just a drunk. She's just stupid, but you can tell she's sweet. And there's a really beautiful sort of like weird pairing friendship between Madison and Wong throughout the episode, which is just really cute. And it's really nice to kind of see this lighter, chill side of Wong. I mean, like, we're introduced to him in this episode watching The Sopranos, dancing to the theme. I was never big on Sopranos. There's a lot of HBO stuff that, like, people are like, oh, you should have watched. Like, The Wire, I never watched The Wire. I lived in Baltimore for like 10 years. Never watched The Wire. Besides the focus of the episode being on Jen helping Wong to do a cease and desist, the episode's main focus, or at least a good portion of it, is really about Jen trying to get back into the dating world. I mean, she's not really into dating, and her friend Nikki is really pushing her. And I love Nikki. I think Nikki's fantastic. She's a good friend. She's not like manipulative. She's like super supportive of Jen. She knows that, you know, being She-Hulk is very surprising for her, but also wants to help Jen embrace it and own it, because that is who she is now. She is She-Hulk. Although Jen wants really nothing to do with the name, which kind of bites her in the butt with episode 5, which we'll get to that. But she does utilize one of the benefits of being She-Hulk is the popularity to try to meet some men. And so she decides to make a profile on like it's a dating app. I think it's like Tinder. I'm gay, so I use the other ones. Like, I'm not gonna say the names. You know the ones. There's like 3 everybody uses. I don't use the one. I use the other. I've used the other 2. Let me move on. But she uses it and goes on some very interesting dates, which surprisingly tie into episode 5 pretty well, because she is in She-Hulk form, because that's what these men are trying to do, and I use men in quotation because some of these guys are just assholes and creeps and weirdos, and then there's one who's who plays the game very well, which we come to unfortunately find out that he is really just trying to hook up with her, not necessarily in a malicious way, but he obviously has an attraction to She-Hulk, and Jen is totally down to pound. Okay.
Phrasing. Shut up!
But before the poundage can happen...
Phrasing. Boom! Inappropriate.
But before that can happen, unfortunately, Donnie opens up a portal, a different portal, not the one where he sent Madison through, with Madison explained in the courtroom that she made a deal with a demon, a goat demon named Jake, but can't talk about the deal. Mephisto? Because of this, Wong has to help close these portals, and Jen has to step in to also do some hulking. It's a really fun little sequence. It's comedic because it interrupts the pre-coitus that is about to happen, which eventually does happen after they are able to stop the madness and also get Donnie to agree to the cease and desist. So that kind of wraps up the case. I really like how these cases are wrapped up unconventionally as well. So I enjoy that aspect of the episode. And then we get to the morning after the coitus, where Jen decides to be nice and prepare a lovely breakfast for her hookup, which, I don't know. I haven't done... Okay, here's the thing. A little personal time. I never did any, sleepovers, major sleepovers, so there was never a need to make breakfast. So props to her for trying to do that, but a big shame on this asshole who decides to feel awkward and leave since he's not into Jen, he's only into She-Hulk, which again, it's like going out with your best friend and realizing everyone's only interested in them, but you're the same person. It's a very weird dynamic that the series is exploring, where Jen has to learn to accept this side of her. It's very similar to how eventually, Bruce and Hulk had to accept each other. Whereas with Jen, it's different because obviously she has full control and she doesn't have another persona mentally. Her mind's not broken like Bruce is. Her mind is completely intact and 100% in control. But to the outside world, these are two different people, Jennifer Walters and She-Hulk. And obviously more people are interested in the She-Hulk version than Jen. And it's interesting how we're exploring it with the series so far. She does have an alter ego, how it's very different than how she, when Bruce was like, you don't have an alter ego. I'm like, technically she does, but she is the alter ego. So she has to experience the highs and the lows. She's experiencing everyone liking her in this new form, but doesn't like her as her regular self, and that's super tough. I mean, because it's everybody struggles sometimes with, I guess, being themselves or being what people perceive that they are, and I really feel, at least that's how I'm connecting with the series. I mean, obviously I'm not a woman, and I completely understand that her experience is totally different from mine. I'm a gay man. It is even still totally different. But it's interesting how I feel like the series is kind of showing her evolution to truly make both into one person, to be one complete person, because they do feel separate, even though she is in full control, and she is, when she changes, when she transforms, she's in complete 100% control. I hope that makes sense, what I'm saying. I feel like I've just rambled for a minute, but let's continue. The episode does end with Jen being subpoenaed. She's being subpoenaed for copyright infringement by Titania, which I think I said it correctly because that's how they said it in the show, about the name She-Hulk. Because apparently Titania decided to copyright the name She-Hulk and tries to use it to push her product. So she's basically trying to benefit off the popularity that Jen has created just by existing. So that's where the episode ends. There is a stinger at the end of the episode with Wong and Madison hanging out, which is really funny, talking about different drinks. And apparently vodka and yak milk. I don't think I want to try that. I could. I do have a drinking video coming pretty soon. I could do it for another one. Ew. This leads us into episode 5, which is basically Jen going up against Titania for the legal rights for the name of She-Hulk. We also get introduced to Luke, who is a tailor or outfit or costume designer for superheroes, because at this point, with as many superheroes that exist in the MCU, you're going to have someone who's going to be making their suit. Technically an MCU version of Edna Mode. I mean, because come on, you can't sit here and tell me that Luke does not remind you of Edna. Like, the energy is the same.
Oh, I like it.
Of course you do, because I'm a genius.
Yes, I'm sure your gratitude is quite inexpressible. Don't ask me to do it again, darling. My rates are far too high.
Everything I make stands up to the highest combat standards. I don't make basic shit.
No kicks.
And I think it's hilarious because the whole time Jen suits, because obviously no one's made female attire for a Hulk. But we'll get to the interaction with Luke in just a minute. But first we have to deal with the legal battle of the name She-Hulk. So Jen has to work with another colleague at GLK&H. God, names, words, mental stress. It's all just popping off. So they have to go to court to try to convince the judge that Titania is using the name merely for profit, that Jen should legally own the name because it was created by the public eye, and Titania only copyrighted it after it had already been used and was created by the public for She-Hulk, which leads to having to bring back the guys that she dated in the previous episode, because since she went on the date as She-Hulk, she's able to use these guys to help convince the judge that yes, she has been owning up to the name of She-Hulk, even though the whole time she really has not wanted to own up to the name She-Hulk, but now she kind of has to, because her job's also kind of on the line too, which also sucks. I have theories of where I think where I think the first season is going to wrap up, especially with the tease at the end of the episode. It's kind of a hard scene. It's very embarrassing, and even her coworker kind of points it out after they luckily win, is that is probably the most embarrassing thing that you would have to go through just to win a case. These are not good guys, and they basically are talking about like all the stuff with the dates and their interpretation. And we get to the last guy who kind of bailed on her after the next day, basically trying not to be disrespectful, but it's still very disrespectful, that he wasn't interested in Jen, but he was only interested in She-Hulk. And, you know, that's how she portrayed herself. And then when it wasn't her, he was like, bye. And it's just like, ew. Like, that's just gross and dirty. So she's able to, win the case, albeit probably needing therapy after that, because, just reaffirming the idea that people are only interested in She-Hulk. Like, no one's interested in Jen. And that's something that she's going to have to learn to work out or to find emotional balance with, because that, being that she is completely in control of her powers and of who she is one thing, but learning to accept this other side of yourself or this public perception of yourself, that's something totally different. She never wanted the spotlight, and unfortunately she has the spotlight. And now it's like trying to find a way to balance that. Maybe having new clothes will help that, not saying that in a weird way, but because Luke is able to create an array of outfits for her by the end of the episode, which is very nice and very dope. And again, throwing real Edna Mode vibes. It's hilarious. But he also, this is at the end of the episode too, because there's no stinger on episode 5. He has another item for a client that he gently puts off to the side. Before putting a lid on it, we do see that it is the helmet with the horns, and it's yellow. That is for Daredevil, because I'm assuming next episode we're getting our introduction to Charlie Cox. Luke also does make Jen another suit, which is most likely the purple and white sort of tracksuit that we see her in when she encounters Daredevil in one of the I think it's like a promo or like a featurette for like midway through the season. So expecting episode 2 of Jen and Matt Murdock. So that's going to be exciting. We're going to see some She-Hulk and Daredevil action. I really liked these 2 episodes. I really thought these episodes were a lot of fun. I said that about all the episodes in the series, but it's a fun series. I have a blast watching it. Is there substance to it? Absolutely. It is. It does have some depth, especially with, you know, all the craziness happening. It still boils down to Jen trying to figure out how to balance this new aspect of her life on top of everything else that she has going on, which is a lot. And I think it's going to be interesting to get a perspective from another superpowered lawyer, because Jen's whole idea has just been, I just want to be a lawyer, I don't want to be a superhero. She's about to meet someone who is a superhero, but who also uses the law to help people, and is probably thinks of himself more as a lawyer first. Maybe in this iteration of Daredevil that we're getting, because this is going to be our first real meaty. This is going to be our first real introduction to this MCU version of Matt Murdock. How much of the Netflix version of the character is going to be informed into the MCU version? We've gotten a tease of him in Spider-Man No Way Home, so this is going to be interesting. And I think that sort of interaction is going to really benefit helping Jen coming up with this new fully realized persona of herself, balancing not only the lawyering side, but with being a Hulk, and more than just realizing you don't need to be the one, where from that first episode on, she's needed it in order to reach the level that she's at. So it's not necessarily taking away everything that was Jen, it's just an evolution of that into She-Hulk. So She-Hulk really does feel like the evolution of Jennifer Walters, and I think by the end of the season, she's going to fully realize and fully embrace it and become you know what I mean. She's gonna become. Why am I cupping? She's going to become the person she is meant to be, and I think that's beautiful. I'm also thinking by the end of it, she's probably. I'm not feeling the whole law firm thing with GLK&H, because, you know, the boss is very much detached. He's very much rich old white guy. Not as a mean thing, but yeah, he's dry humor and he's just there. I can see a world where by the end of it, she decides to start her own law firm. And maybe that can partner up a little bit with Matt Murdock. Maybe not a full partnership, but maybe like a working relationship. But then she can kind of do her own thing, because she'll know that she is the front of it. You know, she would be the headliner for it. She can bring Nikki. She can bring the other guy who I forgot his name. I'm so sorry. He played Adrian Chase in Arrow. He was a psychopath in that, and here he's like comedic and funny. And I just think it's like a weird 180, but granted, there's a good couple years between those two. Overall, I really enjoyed these two episodes. I thought they were a lot of fun. I think Madison is hilarious. I think Luke is a great addition. I'd love to see him come back in some other like sort of lower level series, because if he's going to be the superhero costume designer, I mean, that's pretty funny. I'm trying to think of a couple other series coming up that could work for. Maybe not something like Armor Wars, that wouldn't make sense. Secret Invasion wouldn't make sense. But something like maybe like a season 2 of Miss Marvel would work really well. Or something like that. You know, if you do another like low level, you know, street level character who might benefit from having a superpower tailor, that would be kind of a dope thing. I'd love to see Madison come back in some capacity. Obviously not in like a Doctor Strange 3, because that would just completely shift the tone of that. But the tone of this makes perfect sense for this sort of interaction. I really enjoyed that. Let me know what you thought of these two episodes in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for checking out this and all my videos. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully you do enjoy this. Hopefully you consider, or hopefully you already have, subscribed to the channel. It would really make my day. Hopefully this has been entertaining for you. Hope you enjoyed my thoughts on it. And like I said, let me know your thoughts. I really love to hear them. Let's have a discussion. That would be awesome. I've got a ton of videos on the channel right now that you're more than welcome to check out. You can follow me on a lot of different social media platforms listed at the end of this video. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, until next time, I will catch you later. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you did like this video, why not give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends? You can subscribe to the channel by clicking on my gorgeous little face right over there. You can follow me on all the various social media platforms right below. And last but certainly not least, if you've got a few extra minutes, why not check out one of the lovely videos floating right over here. Later.